All right, so gonna do a reaction video or talk about the trailer. I don't know if I really want to call it a reaction video because there's like 800,000 of those out there now. Um, Sorry, we couldn't get to it as fast as others. But go and watch everybody else's reaction video so that you can come and tell us how we're wrong or what things we missed. Definitely encourage that down in the comments below or on the Discord. I don't care. Just let us know how we're wrong. But to help avoid at least me being wrong, of course, I am Andrew. For those of you that don't know or care or don't care, whichever that do be my name. But this is kind of a short notice thing to do. Daniel and Josh weren't available, so we have our unofficial fact checker here, MorShadi.
I am the unofficial fact checker Mahale, brought in when, the fact that I tell them they're wrong all the time. So if anyone knows if they're wrong, it's me. Thank you for bringing me on. That's so great.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to it. So it's the least we can do to make up for the lost episode where I wasn't there.
Well, I mean, I know that we're going to start our own, video podcasting, reacting channel here soon.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. There's a different metric for each one of us on the Black Tower. So you've got audio podcast with Daniel, video podcast with me,
and live reaction podcast with on like Twitch with Josh when I go and see the first couple episodes with him.
I was thinking interpretive dance podcast on TikTok.
I don't know if I'm gonna go with that one. TikTok scares me. I know that Critter Sadai is really, really awesome on it. But no, it scares me a lot. Like, frightens me, Mashin Chin style.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least what unofficial is on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Probably some other places I don't know about. I'd imagine there's a Facebook page.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, but anyway. Facebook is Takandar. We don't need that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that here.
Yeah.
All right. So, we're gonna watch the trailer. We've got a watch together set up for the YouTube version of it released by Amazon Prime. So we're gonna watch it. So if it seems like the edited video section that you see playing behind us is a little different or a little weird, that's my limited editing skills. So that's also why I have the green screen up, which hopefully works well in post. If it doesn't, then you'll still see the green behind me. But if it works out well, I'll do that so that I can have a little bit more of the trailer showing behind me, because I don't want to shrink us down too much.
Yeah, we're gonna watch the YouTube version, and he's gonna edit in like the Ventura Boulevard version that you buy off the street.
All right. So let's get this started. We'll just play through the trailer and we'll stop it.
Swear your oath, Moiraine Shadar.
Right. So literally 3 seconds in, stopping it already. It's been pointed out by others, but from the stills that we've gotten of Moiraine and the other interviews of Moiraine, there seems to be some VFX shenanigans at work on the face of the lovely Rosamund Pike. It doesn't need it, but it looks like it's there purely to imply purely to show us the significance of a younger Moiraine. This first scene we're seeing definitely looks like a younger Moiraine.
Yeah, and in case of this, it's obviously going to be, for that sense of time, the show is going to encompass a book that you haven't read, Andrew. It's called New Spring. It came out a while ago.
It's a conspiracy theorist.
It exists, Andrew. I just need you to know it does.
Yeah, I definitely have a copy on the bookshelf.
Books
back there
1
somewhere.
and problem 2 and parts of 3, as what Rafe said during the Instagram, one of the Instagram Q&As. So obviously,
the first 3 to include New Spring.
Yep, and so Rosamund Pike is just beautiful woman, but just like with anybody else, some imperfections that may not translate over to being someone who's 20 years younger. When they started out their search for whoever the Dragon Reborn is. I'm going to piss off a bunch of you. Yes, whoever the Dragon Reborn is.
So, I mean, well, she is 42 and looking great for 42. But as you age, there are natural wrinkles and stuff that happen. So, if you want to make somebody look like they're 20 years younger, then you do VFX work to make them look 20 years younger.
Which is just, done.
Yeah.
Which is not what they could do. Yeah, and which is something that Rafe brought up. They spent their money on, everything else and are just doing little things to do this in particular, as you can see. Which is great. I love it. I love the fact that they're spending money on things like what we'll see in this trailer. Really, really awesome looking Trollocs and sets and locations and acting, and not on color shifting cloaks for 100 warders in a particular scene in Great Hunt, which would be, I love it. It would be great, seeing that, but it's not critical.
Just have them wear a green screen.
Yeah, exactly. Have them wear a green
screen. It's that simple, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just that simple. It's just that simple. You could do it. You have a green screen, right, Andrew?
Yeah. Just have them wear a green screen and then just put a static image behind it that makes you think it's like color shifting.
Yeah, exactly. One thing is interesting to note is the voiceover is the Amyrlin seat. One thing I couldn't tell if it's Swan or if it's someone else. It sounds almost like her. It may be Tamara. I think it's Swan. The fact that they're asking Moiraine Sedai to swear the oaths.
I don't think that audio is from this scene.
Yeah, it's not from this scene.
Moiraine is wearing white. So I know the theory is out there that this is a flashback to Moiraine during, like, perhaps her Aes Sedai test or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I believe that as well. This is just a flashback scene to something else. But that also means they're either changing how it works, how swearing the oaths work, that once you've passed the test, you are an Aes Sedai before you take the oaths, or they're at some point asking her to retake the oaths.
We do see her with the oath rod later on with the Amyrlin Suan Sanchi, so it could be. And to me, it sounds like Sophie Okonodo's voice. It definitely sounds like Suan to me.
Yeah,
so it could be during that scene, because we do see channeling kind of weaving its way. See what I did there? Weaving its way. It's almost like it's built into the books around the oath rod.
Yep, and I'll bring something up when we get to that point, which you'll probably need to put a spoiler warning on. But otherwise, when we get to that point, I will bring it up.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to say something right now. Shut up. Not that.
No.
I love the patterns of this floor. That is what I was going to bring up. I love that there's colors on this floor. I love how bright and brilliant and just everything on this floor. And just like a lot of it is, I don't want to say it's Celtic knots because it's not really Celtic knots, but it's got that feel, right? It's also leaves. It's like a flame.
Like a flow between like Celtic knots and tribalism, like the weird, like kind of in between.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, exactly. It's got this like real good sense, and then you got, of course, the colors of the Aja: blue, gray, white, yellow, green, red, brown. It's just all over there, and it's just everywhere. Obviously, here we have Liandrin, Moiraine, and Alanna in that same positioning as we've seen in other pictures. It's just an overhead shot, coming through. This is one of the things that I was like, this is so awesome. I love the detail they've put into this show so far. That's all I wanted to say in regards to this. So.
And it's just the floor.
Just the floor.
So
just the floor, the colors, the vibrancy. Nah, yeah, I didn't know.
To speak no word that is not true. To make no weapon with which one person may kill another.
So here's that rod that we were talking about.
Yeah, it's literally like two scenes in the trailer.
Yeah, and I think let's go a little bit further because it's actually going to show what I really enjoyed about this. There we go. So, the rod. Obviously, one person holding it, the other person holding it. So, spoiler warning.
I might put something up there.
Yeah, you might put something up there.
Probably.
How the oath rod works, and any oath rods a person channels into the numerals, and the person holding it then takes oaths. It gets put on them, and it binds them to whatever oath they're using. They've obviously
to bind them all.
They've made some changes because it is a smooth, in the books it is a smooth rod with the numerals on it. Here it is not obviously a smooth rod. It is a patterned rod, which is great because it's a visual medium and you can do those kind of things. They're also, yes, Siuan is channeling into it and it's filling in the grooves, and that is so freaking cool. I love it.
Not gonna lie, I definitely just noticed that.
Really?
I looked earlier and I didn't look further up on the end that Siuan is holding. Mm-hmm. And I saw where it looked like it was like going into the rod, and I saw some glowing around, and I was like, okay, maybe that's just kind of like gold style inlay and it's shining, and now I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, I'm fucking wrong, and you're definitely right.
Yeah, it's a carved rod. Yeah, it's a carved rod.
Sounds painful.
Before it was made into a ter'angreal. So it's obviously, it draws in the power that you put into it. Based on what they said earlier, if there's just a guess of mine, they're bringing in the use of the oath rod that they used on the Black Aja later on a lot sooner. The oath rod is being used as a tool instead of as this precious little thing, which tells me that ter'angreals and angreals and sa'angreals are probably used more often in the show. They're actually used as tools, like they're meant to be used. Maybe some of them are not known, but the ones that they do have, they're making a point of using them instead of tucking them away in storage rooms. Because this is not supposed to be brought out unless there's a new one to be raised. Otherwise, it stays stuck somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if they are using them more frequently and anytime there's a trial, then it's going to put more emphasis on the Black Aja not raising any suspicion or being caught versus, being caught and just being able to lie, because we're still under that spoiler banner. The Black Aja sisters have taken another oath that has broken them free of the oath rod.
Exactly. And it may also be that, like, they may have also changed that a little bit as well. It's just, who knows? This is just, again, we're hearing,
except in the hall of the tower.
Except the hall of the tower. They may have changed those oaths. They did change it a little bit as well. And you can hear that in the trailer, except, they say something like, except in my defense of my life or the warder's life. They didn't add that at least in the voiceover. It might be in the show, it's not in the voiceover.
Well, I think Rafe touched on that. Well, he said the same verbiage that we're used to, I believe, from the books in the IGN breakdown that he did with for the trailer. Just super dope. Go and look at it. That is the one that confirms some stuff that we'll probably talk about later.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he used the same verbiage from the books. Could be him saying that's the verbiage that we're actually using in the show, and this is not necessarily the verbiage we're going to hear every time, or it could just be diehard fans saying the actual verbiage because that's what they're used to saying for years.
Yeah. We know this is Siuan because of the clothes that she's wearing here, and then the same color blue. So it's pretty obvious that this is the two of them.
We know this is Siuan because it looks like Siuan.
Because it looks like Siuan, yeah. Some people were saying it's like, well, maybe that's the dress that Amyrlin is all, but no, it's Siuan. Second thing, and second thing that I noticed about this scene, and this was very exciting for me, is their fingers are touching.
Oh yeah.
Because hashtag I'm here for hashtag Moiraine and Siuan forever. I am hoping that their relationship takes a bigger step forward than what it was in the books. So
I don't hate the idea at all.
I don't hate the idea either. I'm good with this.
I think it'll happen. I mean, we know with the way the movies and shows go, there's often a lot of like hand placement and choreography and things like that aren't done by accident, especially when a camera angle is meant to be close up on it to kind of make sure that's included. So if at the very least it's a nice subtle nod to the relationship between Moiraine and Suan. It could all, I could definitely see it being like a comforting touch. Like, if Moiraine is kind of on trial here, it's Suan being like, I support you. I don't think you did anything wrong, but
but she's in charge. She's got it's like, you may be my friend, but yeah, that's it. That's it for. I really love the way they made the rod look. So.
And never to use the one power as a weapon.
So, in this scene, we see for the first time Liandrin, Moiraine, and
Karine,
who I think is Karine Nagashi.
Yeah.
And who many people think is Karine Nagashi, channeling together. So we see her standing up. This looks like it may be after Logain has burst out of the cage.
Yep.
So if that is true, it does dispel the idea that, Logain starts as, or we have seen already Logain have his Aes Sedai body count with Karine Nagashi slamming into a stone pillar. Doesn't seem to be the case here, but the thing I've noticed is it almost looks like some of the weaves are flowing in between each of them. I'm wondering if we're seeing a link already in the series.
That is a good point. Yeah, I didn't even put that together. But yeah, I think there is that situation there. They are probably linking.
You have that circle around each of them?
Yep.
Or
like it's
at least
like
around Moiraine and Karine.
Yep.
It looks like there's a tendril of power flowing into Moiraine, kind of from Liandrin, and then from kind of like the top behind of Moraine's head into Karine. It could just be the way that they're pulling, like channeling is something that kind of comes out of the ether into you. But it also could be a link. I think with the circular nature of the magic around them, could be talking out of my ass.
No, I mean, that makes sense, especially if you're trying to show how linking works. That would be the perfect time to show it.
Do you know what Aes Sedai means in the old times? Servants of all.
I just want to say straight up, badass bitch. Look at that.
All right.
That's it. That's all. That's all I should do. Look at the clothing as well. Just like look at everyone else around her. I love how everyone has different types of clothing. No one's. One of the things that is Robert Jordan's thing is description of the world. Now it's also a joke, right, among all readers. Like he always has to describe where's the slashes in the skirt, where's the smoothing of the skirts, but if you look closely,
the props team loved. I'm pretty sure, like every time they're like, "What does what does this culture's dress look like?" And they could be like, "Here are 16 pages of Robert Jordan describing their dresses."
Exactly, and so I really enjoy what they're showing here because, like, you see the Blue Aja, which is her right there, right in the center, but you got one side a classic kind of fantasy dress, right? That's like just a dress, long sleeves, padded shirt. But in the other, someone looks like they have a hijab on, like, but it's pants. And further on the white, like a even fancier dress. Moraine's got like these weird padded shoulders, like what are those? That's what I saw. But she's also wearing like a gown.
Almost looks like leather.
Yeah.
Like almost like leather pauldrons.
Yep. And it just kind of shows that she's just like ready for anything, I don't know. I really, 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 really enjoyed the costuming and just how much attention to detail they put into it.
Yeah. Her
and also
the jewel on her forehead, is it the Kesiera? Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Whatever.
I think it's called the Kesiera. Yeah. But like another thing that Rafe pulls out in the IGN trailers, it was an important thing for them to include in the series, but that Moiraine is only wearing it during like important, more formal events. So,
which is after the first book, that's what the only time she's wearing them is during important and formal events. In the first book, it was because it is supposed to be a fantasy. Obviously, it's never out of place. It's always being worn. It's just a bunch of bullshit. It's because it was the first book. It's fantasy. Doesn't matter. After that, it was for practical purposes only. She was using it as a tool for listening in a distance, and it was just out whenever she was in a calm moment. When you're riding, imagine riding on a horse, running away from Trollocs, and that thing just like, why would she wear that?
It's conditioning of the bones in the inner forehead, or the bone in her forehead, to make it, stronger.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't make any sense to be wearing it all the time. It's obviously a piece that is for formal occasions. Even in the books, you could tell that is a piece for a formal occasion situation. Like,
I'd agree.
Just yeah. So anyway, that's all I need to say about that.
It is they who serve the world.
Yet another badass. Love her.
So I don't know about you. The first time I ever saw Sophie Okinoto was in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and I still remember her playing the tribal princess. That
oh my God, is that her?
Yeah, that's Sophie Okinoto.
Oh my God.
In fact, anytime anybody's like, "Oh, like who is Suan Sanchi being played by?" I'm like, "Oh, Sophie Okinoto," and generally it's a blank stare. Not of her fault at all. And I'm like, "No, it's. Have you watched Ace Ventura: Pet Detective?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "She played the princess," and they're like, because they immediately think of how the princess acted, like everything about the princess, and it being a more comedic role.
Yeah.
They're like, how is that going to work for such a serious role? It's like, because Sophie Okinoto is a badass.
Yeah. I mean, look at that 1,000-yard stare. Like, she's boring a hole into everybody who's looking at her right now. Like, and then everything she's got made up in her hair, in her clothes, and one thing that I did notice that is important to notice is the tattoos that she has, which tells me one of two things. One, they are not changing her backstory in regards to coming from Tyr. But
I'm sorry, it was Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. She's still from Tyr, but the practice of getting tattoos like those from the sea folk has permeated the areas. Or two, she might even be sea folk. Now, sea folk are the ones that they send to the tower are either so weak or so strong that they have to be sent there so that way they can keep Aes Sedai away from them. But once they get there, they keep away from everybody. They get to the point where they all join the Brown Alja so they can just hide themselves away in the 13th Depository. They don't call attention to themselves and things of that nature. If they do end up making Swan sea folk, that means this is a completely different type of sea folk.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think they're going to change her character that much to a totally different culture, but that would be awesome to see why she has tattoos, because it's an interesting character change to make, because it's not something that's really odd. That is an obvious change.
Yeah, I think. Well, I agree. I think it's more likely that that some part of maybe the sea folk traditions of tattoos have kind of made their way over to the more fisherman sections or the more seafaring sections of people that live on the mainland, and it might have just become a kind of naval thing. Like for the longest, American style, pinup style tattoos, you generally saw a lot. Well, not necessarily pinup tattoos, but there's a specific art style that you saw generally amongst like U.S. naval sailors, and leading up to and through World War II, and even for a little while after that. So, could be something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of
Sailor
it.
Jerry, by the way.
Yeah, and I do think that that's probably going to be more likely is the sailorness in her and her family probably is going to be showing more through. And part of that is tattoos. It'll be interesting to see because that means that when she was a kid, she had tattoos. Because she has been in the tower since then.
Ooh.
So that if she has tattoos as a kid, it has a connotation similar to tribal tattoos, family tattoos. And it'll be interesting to see how that works. If she got him as an adult, good on you.
Yeah, I mean, by all means.
Yeah, by all means, go right ahead. It's just an oddness. It's a change, and I can't wait to hear more about it. And they may never address it. And also, who cares?
Yeah. Either way,
Either way, it's a
like
great change. I love it. Yep. I like the way that they changed the stole as well. That it's part of the actual dress itself. I don't think that this is a standard almond seat stole. I mean, a dress. I think they just add it, so it has something on it.
This could be like we talked about with Moiraine and her Kesiera being a formal thing. This could be a very formal calling of the Hall. Yep. And so even the Amyrlin is going to show up in formal attire. That's why we may see those more formal style garb on the sitters.
Yep.
So this might just be like Suan's like official like kind of formal event, you know, kind of thing. And because it was made for her to be formal as the Amyrlin, they incorporated the Amyrlin stole.
Yep.
Or shawl, rather.
Exactly.
I didn't choose this path.
Oh.
So I love that, and I just noticed that while
like
she's
waggling.
standing on the balcony, she like starts kind of crumpling up her fingers.
That's the first time I noticed that too, and I'm wondering if she's weaving something and they took it out.
I don't think it's as likely that she's weaving something. I think this might be something that Moiraine does when she's very deep in thought. Like, maybe this is either... So, based off of dress and the other things we've seen, this is either pre her coming before the Hall of the Tower or post her coming before the Hall of the Tower. Because there are some scenes in the behind the scenes that make me question things. Because the behind the scenes clip, I think we see Moiraine and Alana leaving the Hall of the Tower, but Leandrin is not walking with them. Probably completely wrong on that. But
No, yeah, I know that one. I remember seeing that part of it. I know which one you're talking about. I just remember it now. No, it's just the two of them leaving.
But this is completely different. Like, this is Moiraine on a balcony looking out over. I like to think that I know there's one scene in I think the teaser trailer where we see her from behind. We can't really see anything other than sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think that she's standing there staring at Dragonmount.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
But I will follow it.
Where next?
So there was a good thing, quick point to that scene, that they look weary, like they've been traveling a lot. Don't necessarily look exhausted or tired, but I mean, Lan looks like Lan. But Moiraine, there almost seems like be a little bit of weariness about her. Like she's it's been a long journey.
Yeah, maybe definitely. The hair is just like all over the place.
Yeah. Maybe we can get to the two rivers and I can actually have a relaxing night for once. Spoiler alert.
Jeez.
Doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
But it's cool because it also points out that like we're gonna get some scenes of Lan and Moiraine, even if it's only this kind of scene, before their arrival in Emond's Field, which is when we first see them in the series.
Yep. And for those who don't know, New Spring was actually supposed to be one of 3 prequels that Robert Jordan was going to write. One of which was going to be the search that they did up to arriving at the Two Rivers. So this probably has some of the first season's going to have this. The pre coming to the Two Rivers is going to be based on some of those notes. So pre-coming, yes.
I'm a child. I can't.
Yeah, you are a child.
Resist. You know this. You love it.
I do. I know it. I love it. I'm here for it, Andrew. Okay. This is awesome. Apparently this scene, according to Rafe, is all natural, all real. These mountains are freaking huge. And here we have the women's circle walking across the field. That is obviously...
Glad you brought it up, because I was like, did I remember him saying that or not? And I was like, I'm pretty sure I do.
Yeah. That is Nynaeve and Egwene there in the front. I think that's Meryn right after her, and then a coterie of women behind. This is obviously, now that we've seen other things and other images and everything else in the previously, them going off for Egwene's coming of age ceremony.
Are they heading to the Yeetening?
They're heading to the Yeetening in that weird colory pool where she gets like.
Oh, that's the moment she gets shoved off a cliff.
No, I think that's actually probably a Nynaeve and Egwene only thing. I think this is where everyone's around that pool. The behind the scenes image had all of the women around. I think this is that pool scene that Egwene gets into, which I initially thought was going to be an Aes Sedai testing, but apparently not. This is going to be a women's circle thing, which kind of brings me back to that some of the testing they probably do in the tower has permeated out through the lands. Some of the things that they have done for wisdom testing and things of that nature have become normalized in some of these rural areas. They don't necessarily know that this is what they do, but they go, it's like it's the hillbilly version of like healing someone instead of using like actual medicine that's processed at a pharmacy. They're like, nah, it's okay. It's like you just mix this with this and you're fine. Like drink a hot toddy, you'll be fine.
It could also be because there are 7 Ajas, right?
Yeah.
So when we see the scene of Egwene emerging from the pool and we see the colors around her, they're kind of equidistant spaced. So there could be kind of a equidistant space within a circle. So there's all that imagery of the 7 spokes of the wheel. But it could also be kind of my thought on what it, kind of more conspiracy-ish kind of theory, I guess, within the world of the Wheel of Time, is it could be a byproduct of maybe what's prompted the creation of these 7 different Ajas. It could be some kind of thematic thing that was important, in a previous age that is now permeated through and gave the origins for that tradition, maybe gave the inspiration for the 7 different Ajas and their focuses. And bits of that have stuck in different places. So it could be also a call to the secular nature of time.
Yep. And it honestly is very much heralds more to a more natural growth from a destructive apocalyptic sense from I can't imagine in a world like in any world where like the only testing is only in the White Tower. Similar testings have to happen everywhere else. You can't just regress completely to nothing and the only way you test is like the wisdom goes, oh, you can listen to the wind. I will train you without knowing that you can be trained. Like, no, there's other ways. Like, they have known how to do it. Whether or not they consciously know that that's exactly what they're doing, it seems more natural the way this seems like.
And we get an implication from Nynaeve. Like, her ability to listen to the wind is frequently kind of likened onto her ability to channel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on
that. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what this pool signifies for the women's circle. Because it definitely is something that is focused on Nynaeve. She's at the head of the circle in the pool. She's like holding the one big jug. I know they're all holding a jug. And then, of course, she pushes Egwene off the cliff. And that is why her blouse is, her night shirt is like stained with the colors. It's because it was a testing for the women's circle. It's not anything to do with the Aes Sedai. It's all internalized for the 2 rivers. So that my entire theory of it being part of the Eternal Grial, memories, dreams, all that, out the window from the first teaser trailer. This is all localized completely in the 2 rivers.
Let's hope it's prepared them for what's coming.
The boys.
The boys.
Let's go. The boys.
Yeah,
go back.
boys. This is interesting. This is Egwene. It looks like some of the same windows we saw in some of the shooting location stills that we were like, huh, this looks like it could be Shadar Logoth. And then it was Shadar Logoth. I think this is a scene from Shadar Logoth. Her coat kind of seems like, at least the hood part and the fur lining inside does seem to match what we got from the teaser trailer, where we see Egwene running up the steps onto the wall around Shadar Logoth. So
That's
this
what
could
I
be like
think
one of the
too.
layers under.
Yeah, that's what I think too. The only other place I can think of is that it's in the Wine Spring Inn. I don't think it is because of the sharp angle of that column. The columns there are circled with a weird ass pattern that I still haven't been able to figure out what they are.
Ancient scrolls of the Nether.
All right. I'm sure that's what's going to come up, right? It's like, it's some weird scrolling from a Netherin. But yeah, I think this is in Shadar Logoth as well. Our first shot in this of the first two boys, Rand and Perrin.
They look so innocent.
Right? Look at that. So cute and adorable. Who knows what's going to happen to you? Well, we know what's going to happen to you two for sure. Yeah. Anyway, look at what he's wearing. Look at what Rand's wearing. I love it. It's because it's very simple. It's simple clothing, dye job, because we know they have color because Egwene gets so they have dyes, but it's very simple dyes. Same thing with Perrin's clothing, and I love the differences as well. The Aes Sedai have very complicated clothing. This is simple clothing, but it's still got some detail to it.
Well, I also love how Perrin's seems like it's a just thinner material, which is probably significant, to him working in the Luhan Forge, versus Rand, who has probably traversed some random, I don't know, empty road to get here to share this drink.
Yep. And it may not also be the Luhan Forge. It may be Perrin's.
Yeah, that's true. They are aged up to 20.
Yep. They are aged up to 20.
From at least any character that was 18 at the start of the series is now 20. We know that Rand is 20, pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah. And so it may already be his forge. He has a secondary forge. Anything of that nature. We don't know yet. He is one of probably the bigger mysteries about this show. They're keeping everything about him very close to the chest. Like, his emoji doesn't have any weapons. Doesn't have a hammer.
The eyes aren't yellow.
The eyes aren't yellow. And I will, after this video, give my own hot take on that. Next is our dear Barney Matt. Has like kind of a sinister look on his face. But he's just a mischievous guy.
They're playing into also, like, it could be mischievous, but it's also like, so the description on the Amazon Explorer page under Prime Video, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Did a video on it, go back and watch that, or don't. But we see in the description of Matt there that one of Matt's biggest questions for himself is he bad or is he good? And Barney echoes that in the IGN first interview. So there's a bit of Matt here that, like, now hearing Barney say that and seeing the write-up for it, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure if Matt's good or bad in this shot either. Like, he almost looks like the I've put something in your wine.
Like,
your brandy.
or like, if you don't give me that last piece of cheese, I'm going to stab you with my long fingernail. Obvious. Oh.
The Dark One is waking.
Obviously arriving at Shadar Logoth. Here's an interesting thing I noted in this. Lan obviously in the front, Matt right next to him, Egwene. Moiraine is being carried behind Egwene.
Is she?
Yes. Perrin, Marcus made a note in the New York Comic Con interview that he carried Rosamund Pike. A lot of us guessed it was because they were doing shots for the second season. I'm assuming that's this shot, which means that at this point, they're still together up until Shadar Logoth, which is great. But something has happened to Moiraine. Whether it's got way tired because she had to fight a bunch of Trollocs to get there. Which means she's
just a weave of earth and fire.
Yeah, weave of earth and fire. She's much more exhausted than normal. They're going
That's how
to
she is
play...
already in the books, right?
Yeah,
like
she's
by the
very
time they reach
exhausted.
Shadar Logoth, like Lan is riding right next to her, keeping her upright in the saddle because she's literally like too weak to hold on.
Yep, but she's still upright, and so she goes to rest. Not until she gets there, and then Nynaeve helps her with herbs that energize her and things of that nature. But she's still upright. She's not being carried, which tells me that they're going to probably play up the fact that using the one power is draining. And the stronger you are, yes, you can do more things, but it also is still exhausting. So yes, you can...
We know from the White Cloak clip that's coming up that has definitely made its wide rounds on Twitter. And I would say I'd save my hot take for that, but it's already on Twitter. It got like 200 and something likes. As last time I looked at it, I'm like, stop, like let me be incognito in the background. But I think there's a certain degree of them needing to show that the Aes Sedai are indeed vulnerable. They're not like other series magic users that are nigh immortal.
Yep. They have to show some way that they are weak, and that is their power. Their strength is also their weakness. If they use too much, I don't want to say they pass out, right? But they get exhausted, just like with any muscle, right? You use it too much, it's going to break. You use it too much, it's going to get exhausted. You're not going to be able to use it anymore. That's what I was thinking as well. That Aes Sedai that they captured, they rushed them, and then eventually got too exhausted, and that's a White Cloak technique. Throw enough bodies at an Aes Sedai and you're able to capture her.
Yeah. It's not like the children aren't willing to die for the light.
Exactly, and it's not like, Emond wouldn't be willing to sacrifice an entire regiment to capture one Aes Sedai to burn her.
If people in our world can be convinced to go and drink the Kool-Aid after moving, continents to live in a compound, you can convince people. I mean, we've seen religious zeal throughout all of human history. So.
Yep. Anyway, that's the biggest thing I noticed in this one. Other than the fact, very gray, very stark, destroyed wall.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's going to be Nynaeve. Nynaeve is the Dragon Reborn. I'm sorry, everybody, but it's going to be Nynaeve this time around in the
that's what the braid tug that we just saw. The braid tug and flip was all
Whoa.
about. Which, thank you, Rafe, for mentioning that it was very important to you that y'all included this in the series.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. But yeah,
Rafe, thank you so much for including the actors who play Egwene and Nynaeve, because representation fucking matters. And so it's so amazing to see it. It's so fantastic to see it, and I love it. Just plain and simple. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about it. I love it. I'm here for it, and I can't wait to see it on screen.
So from the Moraine's Quest video, I already know that they've changed some of the verbiage of Yatara's vision. That instead of it being, he lives again, he breathes, the Dragon Reborn takes his first breath on Dragonmount. It's basically now, the dragon is reborn, the child takes his first breath on Dragonmount. It's far more gender neutral, just with no identifying of a male or female gender. And so it leads into, well, if that's what the foretelling says, then there's nothing to tell Moiraine that she's looking for a boy born 20 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And as book readers, we know who it is. Obviously. Spoiler alert. Rand. But we're book readers. This is an Amazon TV show. I had never read Game of Thrones. Ever. I kind of read it, but it's like, I read like 5 pages of it. I couldn't stand it. So I put it away. I'd never read it. I watched the TV show. The first couple of seasons I enjoyed. I know that they change things because you have to for TV. The same thing is going to happen for the Wheel of Time. You have to change some things, especially for someone who's never read the series. And if you, from the start, point out that this one person is the Dragon Reborn, the person who is going to destroy the world. Yes, it's Rand. That's a little boring. You gotta play up the drama. You gotta play up the mystery. The rest of us know who it is. We gotta sit back and enjoy and go to the people who don't know, and just like, that's our job, you know.
That's
and then
something Rosamund indicated. That's something Rosamund indicated in the IGN interview, that you don't know what Moiraine's end game is. You don't know what her goal is. You don't know what she's trying to do. And I love that, because the first time I read Eye of the World, I was like, I don't quite trust the lady that just showed up in this remote hillbilly village and started passing out silver coins and asking children to talk to her. Obviously now, they're young adults, but still.
Yeah. Here, little kid.
Somebody walked up to me on the street and said, hey, here's, a gold coin or a silver coin. It was like, could you tell me about when you were born? I'm going to be like, stranger danger.
Hey, would you, climb onto my white horse that says free coin?
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
But there will be one.
This is obviously after Winter's Night. Village has been destroyed. You can see it in the background. I'll make a comment a little later.
Yeah, just
about
so you could see like Egwene and team. I think we see Egwene and them on horses, and this is them as they're leaving Two Rivers. They're looking back on the destruction. They're just like, "We gotta go." It's a later scene, so I'll save it for there.
Yeah.
Who can stand against him? And it's one of the five of you.
Okay. First of all, I love that scene of everyone galloping on their horse normally, but Lan is just like, BAM! Just like tearing that ground up, because in the books, everyone was walking their horses after they left Terran Ferry, going into Baerlon, because it takes about a week to get there. That's the distance between the Two Rivers area and Baerlon. It takes about a week. So you gotta take care of your horses. So you trotting or walking at pace. And he yelled at anybody who went faster than that. Not him though. He was scouting ahead and going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Well, that's because unlike these other peasant horses, except for maybe
exactly.
Mandarb is a trained warhorse. Have you mind?
You know what though? I miss Cat Dancer. Oh, sorry. That's a horse. That's his horse from New Spring. You wouldn't know that because you haven't read. You wouldn't.
People say that. There's a lot more about New Spring that I know that people don't realize I know, and I probably don't realize I know.
But this is awesome.
This happens.
This is obviously, yeah.
Like this is kind of Lan's like, fucking fly, you fools.
Fly, you fools.
Moment.
Like, get the fuck out of the way. This is obviously the same scene that you see as an overhead shot from the teaser. They're going across. This is like the sand hills, the sand that we saw earlier. It is obviously after they leave the Two Rivers, Emond's Field, because you only see Rand, Mat, Egwene, and Perrin and Moiraine. No one else. They're leaving. They're leaving after the disaster.
Yeah. Which now, like, I don't know why I'm just now having this thought, and I'm sure other fans have already talked about it, but Tom. I'm guessing they pick up Tom later.
Yes. And when we get to the Tom section, I will talk about that.
All right. Well, let's work towards it.
Okay.
You've fully lost your mind.
Your life isn't going to be what you thought.
Okay. This scene. Now, in the books, there wasn't, after Winter's Night, there wasn't a lot of mention of death amongst the villagers. I think there was a couple, but it was very off to the side. Most people didn't even know what happened. You had I think it was a Conger that came into town and was like, what, the festivities started? So yes, things were destroyed or whatever, but because Moiraine Sedai was there and Lan was there, they were able to fight off what happened. This is not what happened in the books, and I'm here for it. The reason being is this allows them to go in multiple directions. You have lines of obviously people who are dead here. There, probably other locations. People have died. There are consequences of the Trollocs attacking. This gives the characters motivation to leave, because them sticking around will cause the destruction of their home completely. This gives the motivation for the knave to feel guilty for leaving because of what was left behind. That village is destroyed. They need their wisdom. So when she goes to take her test, it impacts her even more because she left behind a disaster. It also gives an opening to the writers to never come back to the Two Rivers, because there is a scene in the teaser where you see Meryn Alvir and Egwene holding each other crying. And that might be because one of the bodies being eaten by the Trollocs could be Bran. And Bran Alvir is dead.
Oh, the guy... I think the thought is like it might be the guy dressed in red, right?
Yeah. The Abaras might be dead. There is that leak from a long time ago that Perrin is married and he accidentally kills his wife, or his family dies during the attack.
I think we've even seen this poster. Looks like he's wearing a ring on what in the U.S. would be your wedding ring finger. Where.
Yep. We know that, from the explore tabs that I've seen out there, Matt's parents are pieces of shit apparently, or at least not good role models. They may die in this attack, and so Matt has no reason to come back. He doesn't, and so they have lost their attachments to this place. Now, obviously, we want Perrin to come back, right? Because we want the whole Golden Eyes thing, yada 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 yada. But it makes it easier when they're all in tier to go, well, Rand obviously is a dragon on board. Matt, he has no connections, right? None of the other characters then have any connections to go back to. It makes it easier for the audience to go, yeah, of course, why would they go back? Perrin still has a connection back there. Makes it sense to go back. But if everyone still has good familial connections there, it's like, well, that makes no sense. Why would you not go back?
It's a fair point.
But also as well, like, you kill off a lot of people in the village. It does make it easier to not come back, and just kind of snip that storyline. Let Perrin become Lord Goldeneyes in a different way. Let Perrin take over an army, part of an army after Kirhan, and go after Fael if they still bring Fael in. And do that same thing in his Tavernus by finding her and picking up an army all along the way and doing that instead. Because as awesome as the Shadow Rising was for him, after that, he leaves the Two Rivers and doesn't come back. It was just more of a character building for him there. And you bring in Slayer and, Fane. But after that, you're done. So take that character building, put it somewhere else. And I know people are going to hate that. Because what? You can't do that. Yes, you can. It's a visual medium. You can snip storylines and put them together somewhere else. Because that same storyline still works. He is still Perrin, who is don't call me a lord, just like with Matt. But he has Aram with him, and they're all going across, and he then meets up with Galad and meets up with the White Clothes. He still has the same arc. Because he disappeared for an entire book, and he still kind of sucked as a lord. Everyone was just like, sure, Lord Perrin. Don't call me Lord Perrin. He did that for an entire book. That wasn't on screen. You can do that on TV.
Yep.
That's my thing. That's my hot take. For the Two Rivers. Continue.
What are those?
His heart.
All right.
Trollocs!
So I love this. So I think that they survive an attack from what we would consider, from having read the books, a small scouting party of Trollocs. And that what we're seeing in this scene is the actual main force coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever Moiraine is kind of questioned as to why are they here, and she says, for the same reason I am, for you.
Yep.
Or for you 5 or you 4 or whatever she said in the scene. I think this gives the impotence for them to have to hurry up and leave. And they're like, we've got to go. They're far off into the mountains coming up. I could definitely see Egwene like looking over her shoulder, being like, this is what I'm leaving behind. But also looking to see how close all of the torchlights are. And we were talking about earlier the potential for them to remove any need to come back to the Two Rivers. It could be discovered that this attacking band or fist of Trollocs has completely wiped out what remained of the Two Rivers.
Yep.
So or not the Two Rivers, but Emond's Field, and it's no longer even a real place.
And this also might be the reason that Moiraine is so tired and why she's so wiped. She had to distract and draw these Trollocs away from the village, and have them follow and all this. And this is all speculation, obviously, but yes, I love this. The next scene, obviously, you see all these things going by. I think the next scene is actually in daylight, so I think it's a different scene. But
yeah, well, let's find out. So this video is getting pretty long, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it into 2 parts. You just finished watching part 1. Keep an eye out on our YouTube channel, on our Twitter, and our Discord for part 2. If you're not in any of those, you can find links to all of those at our website, blacktowerpod.com. If you want to follow what MorShadi's doing, what's your Twitter?
It is at @more_shadi on Twitter and MorShadi and most other platforms. But I'm usually just on Twitter. So
that's going to do it here for part 1 of our reaction, or rather breakdown, to the first Wheel of Time official full trailer. And stay tuned for part 2, and hopefully you enjoy it at least half as much as you enjoy part 1. But thank you, and we'll see you later.